I'd like to talk about success, but from a different perspective. We're all raised and we're all taught that it's important to be the best that we can be. Unfortunately, we misinterpret that message and we believe that we must be number one. And there is nothing wrong in wanting to be number one. But what I'd like to talk about is the beauty and the power of being number two. Now, I know that doesn't sound right, but you see, not everyone can be number one. Someone has to serve and someone has to be the master. Someone has to lead and someone has to follow. And many of us would have really beautiful lives and a much better adventure in this journey we call life if we understood the purpose for life and if we understood the role that we play in bringing to fulfillment life's purpose. I believe that we all have a responsibility to each other. Now, I don't believe that we're all called to serve each other, but I believe that we are all called to serve. The same way you have a fish in water in its natural environment, you also have a bird in the air in its natural habitat. You and I have a unique calling. We all have a unique purpose. And our success is connected and linked to our purpose. Our purpose is linked to an environment, an area that we are meant to display our natural gifts and talents, our skills, our kindness, our love. And in that environment are people that we are meant to serve. A great master was once asked a question, how can I become the greatest? And the master answered, if you want to be the greatest, then you have to become the servant. The word servant somehow has a negative connotation. Rightly so, probably because of the way it was used and probably because of how much abuse a lot of people were given by being taken advantage of. But I love the word servanthood because in its positive light, the word servanthood is a word that we all should study. We're all called to serve, and that means serving one another. Now, in the environment where you will flourish, there will be people that you should serve. There will be people that you must create value for and people you must solve problems for. And in doing that, the law of compensation is activated. By the service you provide, the reward you get is proportionate to the quality, to the quantity, and the attitude you use in solving the problem. And so all of us must understand the gift, and that is a powerful word, gift, the gift of servanthood. Servanthood simply means I would want to serve you. I would want to help you make your dreams reality. You know, John F. Kennedy, in his inaugural speech, said, ask not what your country can do for you. Rather ask, what can I do for my country? What could I do for the people? Profound statement. It draws your attention away from self and it makes you see yourself in others. It makes you see the good in other people. Your focus changes from getting to giving. Now, life operates by laws. The laws of the universe are predictable, they're precise, and they're perfect. More than anything, they always guarantee the promise. And one of the laws of life is the law of cause and effect. It's also called, if you go into science, it's called the law of action and reaction. If you go into religion, some aspects of religion call it the law of sowing and reaping. If you go into psychology and mental science, some people call it the law of karma. Now, I'm agnostic as to what you choose to call it, but there is a principle behind that law that says, as within, so without, meaning that what you put out, you always get back. And so with servanthood, when you serve, you're giving, meaning that the law of receiving is activated. And the measure at which you give will come back to you, usually pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And so the concept of servanthood is something that we have to learn in the workplace. From my experience, if there was one thing that I wish I learned very young, I would have wished I learned the importance of servanthood, meaning whether you're the leader, you have to serve. In other words, you become a servant leader. You serve the people who look up to you, but also you serve your customers and clients, but you serve them with an attitude of gratitude, an attitude of joy, an attitude of excellence. And in doing that, you activate a law that must return back to you that which you've asked for. Now, let me bring this back to where I started. We've all been conditioned that it's important to be number one, to be the best that we can be. And there is no objection on my part to being the best self, or being your best, or even reaching your potential. But we've become a society that focuses more on getting rather than giving. And for that reason, many of us are trying to climb up the mountain. We're trying to get to the mountaintop. Very few of us are willing to stop along the way and help others get to the mountaintop. We feel as though we'll be distracted, we'll be delayed. Perhaps we even feel threatened by other people's success, and we feel that if we serve them, then in some way we're sacrificing our destiny for their dreams, which is very much incorrect. In a unique way, Zig Ziglar has a statement that I love. He says, ask and you would receive. Ask and you would receive. Life wants to give us all that we can take and all that we need, but there's a requirement for us to give first. Now, Zig Ziglar also has another saying that I love, and he says something to the effect that if you help enough people get what they want, you can have anything that you want. Now, that's a powerful statement that mirrors the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would wish, as you would hope that they would do unto you. And I put mine in a different way, which is that what I do for others with love, with caring, and with a positive attitude, that the same and even better will be done unto me at the right time. So, in a way, if you focus on serving, if you focus on being the best you can be, but helping other people and focusing less on yourself. Now, we've got to be careful here, because I'm not suggesting in any way that you should put other people before yourself. That's incorrect. The statement we were given says, love your neighbors as you love yourself. And that presupposes that loving yourself comes first, because to love your neighbor like yourself, then you must understand how to love yourself. So self-love is the most important thing. That's where love begins, because you cannot give what you do not have, and you cannot give love if you don't understand and if you haven't experienced love. But what I'm suggesting here is, in terms of serving others, you serve based on what you have. Showing up and trying to serve someone in a way that doesn't benefit them is not servanthood. You must give more in use value than others will give you, maybe in cash value. And part of that servanthood doesn't mean that you do things for nothing. Let's make this more practical. In the workplace, you have a job to do, you have responsibilities to the company, to your supervisors, and to your clients. You're being paid for what you do. Servanthood means you're being paid a certain amount of money, and that amount of money requires a certain amount of daily activities on your part and responsibilities. Servanthood means that you go above and you do much more than you're getting paid for. In other words, you're giving people in use value, giving them in value something much more than what you're receiving back in cash value. That is servanthood, but doing it with excellence. I'm doing it in such a way that, if the host of heavens look down, they would look down and say, that is a servant that we need to learn from. Martin Luther King says, if you're called to be a street sweeper, sweep the streets so beautifully well that the host of heavens will stop and say, there lies a street sweeper. In other words, people can see the excellence in your work. Now, number one and number two, in my opinion, doesn't really mean anything. In certain areas of life, it's important. If you are a professional athlete, it makes a difference. The prize money between who comes first and who comes second is substantial, although the difference in results is very little, almost insignificant. But I'm not referring to, some form of professional either activity or professional endeavor. What I'm talking about here is the importance of recognizing that each and every one of us has a purpose. We have a dream, we have a gift. And if we don't serve people, it means we never give our gifts away. And because we don't give our gifts, the world never gets to be a better place because you're holding back. Think about it this way. We've all been chosen by the dreams and the ideas that want to manifest themselves through us. If at the end of your life, you go away with all those dreams unfulfilled, all those ambitions unrecognized, whether that be in books, whether that be writing poems, whether that be making movies, whether that be becoming a doctor, perhaps becoming a surgeon, whatever that might be. If you go away at the end of your life with all of those dreams and desires still locked up in you, then you've robbed the world, because the world was meant to be a better place, because you were meant to touch the world with your greatness. And so servanthood is the first step to greatness. It's the first path to greatness, whereby you can say, with the gifts and the talent and the skills that I've been given, I'm going to make my unique impact through someone's life, and I'm going to leave this world in a better place. But in doing that, the potential you have in you is brought to the surface. The greatness in you is now expressed. It has a way of actually allowing its voice to be heard. Now, in various areas of life, we see one person serving another, but also we see sometimes people who are equally good enough to be number one, still being number two. And they've stayed there and they've done it beautifully well, and they've done it with joy and happiness. And I'd like you to think about your parents, for example. The love they gave you, the attention, the caring, the nurturing, and all the years of loving and giving you, they really had nothing back in return. I know you might argue that that's part of their responsibility. Yes, maybe. But they sit back whereby very few people get to see how relevant they had been in making you who you are today. That could also be perhaps a loved one. That could be a partner, a husband, a wife, who feeds you with inspiration, encouragement, guidance, nurturing, insightful thoughts and words. That you now go out to the world and you flourish. You be the best you can be. To the world, you're number one. You're the best. However, there's someone or group of people that have been pouring love and attention and care into your life on a consistent basis. They're people who have been serving you. Now, it doesn't make them less than you. It simply means that they've fulfilled their purpose, or they're fulfilling their purpose. And I'm of the opinion that joy comes from doing what you were born to do. Joy comes from giving when you know it's right to give. There's a saying that I will do the best that I can today, or I will do the best that I can for whoever I encounter today, for I know not whether I will walk this path again. And that is servanthood. Now think about it this way. You have the story of the Good Samaritan. If he didn't stop to serve someone who was injured, perhaps the story of the Good Samaritan would never have been taught or shared or preached. And there have been thousands of years that have gone by, if you believe in biblical history, and we still have the same story being shared, but also the story being used as an example of how we should love and care for and treat and serve each other. So think about how many lives have been changed simply because one person said, I'm going to serve. I'm in a better position. I'm in a more superior position. I don't even know this person I met on the road. They could be a bandit, but I'm going to step down and serve because I am in a position to serve. I'll leave you with a few statements. If you want to be a good servanthood person, individual, one of the things you must recognize is that you must focus on collaborating and not competing. You see, successful people collaborate. Unsuccessful people compete. You must begin to focus on creating rather than competing. If you can combine creating and collaboration, you position yourself in a servanthood posture, because you're now looking at ways through which you can add value. And the more value you add to other people's lives, the more you will receive from the unexpected source or sources.